Hello, this is Michael Jacobs. Welcome to the Explosive Golf Show. Today's show, we're going to have a lot of fun. Today, we're going to take our first look inside the Jacobs 3D software so you can see some of the parameters and some of the areas of interest that we're taking in researching a golf swing. Then we're going to give you a little drill that we discussed in the latest newsletter to help you with your own grip path. And that's called the World's Strongest Man Drill. So let's sit back, have some fun, and talk about the golfer's grip path. One of the best books ever put out about the golf swing, it included an intense research study back in 1969 called Search for the Perfect Swing, was really the leader in trying to figure out exactly what happens in a golf swing. And as we turn the clock 40-something years later, now we have technology in the hands of the golf pro for you to know exactly what's happening in your swing or the swing of a great player. It makes improvement quicker, and it makes the overall enjoyment of the game that much better. For a long time, the golfer's grip path, the way we could call it the hands or the hub path, where the two hands join each other on the grip, it was often thought and modeled and discussed, even if you remember those circle trainers back in the day, that the hands or the grip path took a circular shape in the swing. So the grip path moved in a circle, and all the things that apply to a circle were used to discuss how the club moved out. For example, this thing would then have a constant center if this was a circle, and the club would either move out right away, or you would have to apply some type of negative hold back to the club with your wrist to stop the outward movement of the club. And that was kind of the norm and the thinking for a long time. As time went on and more people looked at the golf swing, and we found that this became one of the biggest things that we looked at, was the fact that the path of the grip, where the two hands join each other, do not take a circular motion in a swing. Each person's grip path or hand path is extremely unique, and it's that motion of the grip path that controls the outward movement of the club. So this has been a real area of interest for the past 10 years at my ex-golf school. So when I designed the software, Jacobs 3D, what I really wanted to focus on was really honing in on this grip path. So without throwing you in the deep end of a super technical discussion, let's start with three simple little ideas in regards to this grip path. Number one, it's not circular. So the motion, this is a complete zoomed in grip path here. I mean, it looks big and wide just because I blew it up so you could see it, of a tour player's swing. So you could definitely see that there is a non-circular motion to that golfer's grip path. And the changing of the curve is what controls the outward movement of the club. More on that in a little bit. What I have here in this little chart is the grip path speed, how fast the grip path is moving. So this is going to be number two simple idea, the second simple idea. A lot of people think they should take their hands on that grip and drive them as fast as they can towards the ball and try to speed that up the whole entire time. Well, that's going to be almost impossible to do. But before we get to that, let me explain to you that the best players and the best ball strikers are going to peak their hand speed much earlier than impact. So the fastest point this grip is going to reach is well before impact. That's showing us that the golfer is then transferring energy down to the club. So it should not be your intent to try to speed this handle up at the whole time into the shot. It's actually going to be almost impossible to do that. So where in the swing does the golfer's grip reach its fastest point? Well, one of the first things that pops up in the Jacobs 3D software is this information. So it gives us an idea to tell the golfer exactly where it is. So in the timestamp This pink line shows us the speed of the grip, and you could see that it reached its peak at 0.1 seconds before impact and then started to slow down in this golfer, and then it got a little steady into the hit right around there. So this peak right here is at 0.1. So then in the Jacobs 3D software, what I have is I have the golfer's hand path laid out, the grip path, and with the timestamp. So now I could go to a particular point in the grip path and pick exactly where the peak speed was. So it's at this point in the grip path where the golfer reached their peak speed. So that gives me quick information, gives the golfer a quick look at exactly where their grip is reaching its fastest point. And what that does is it gives us an idea of that outward movement and where the energy is going. You will see a lot of players do it too early. They have orientated their body in some kind of way. I think a lot of people call that casting or flipping or whatever people call it. Their body is not orientated well. Their sequencing might be off, and then you might see that grip speed reach at different times. Now, where's the club at this time? Well, that would be on the next graph that would pop up. And the club for this particular golfer was still somewhat vertical. It was up around there. So it was, for this particular golfer, it was up around here when that grip speed reached its fastest point. And then from there, the golf club is really going to flee to try to line up with the ball, and then that grip handle is going to slow down. So I want all my students out there to understand that when the grip reaches its fastest point, it's not at impact. I'm not trying to drive the grip to impact at an ever-increasing speed. That will definitely throw off the ability to consistently square the face, and will definitely throw off what type of attack we make into that golf ball. Let's go to the world's strongest man and a fishing analogy to help you with this. So you're at the carnival, and the guy's going to do the world's strongest man drill, world's strongest man technique. And if you looked at the path of the handle when they were doing that, the first move would be as they started to move they would move their body, and then the first move of the grip path would be a very flattish straight line this way as they moved the actual hammer. And that would be something similar to this area of the swing. A flatter, straighter move with the grip path helps keep the club back. It helps keep the weight of the club back because I'm moving more in a straight line this way. Then, when you're doing the world's strongest man thump, after that straightish type move, then what you do when you go to whip it around and put all the energy into the hammerhead is you then curve your hands in and make a really sharp curve of the hands, which then whips the hammer around. That's something similar to the bottom here of the golfer's grip path. So the world's strongest man drill is kind of an easy way to see a difference in the grip path of a flatter straight move, which would control the outward movement of the sledgehammer, and then how the curve of the grip at the bottom is what helps it flee out and smack for maximum power. Same thing in fishing. You could see how when somebody's going to throw a cast, this first flattish, straighter move here, followed then by that curve, which then throws it out. So how does this relate to golf? How can I help you with your golf game? Well, everybody's obsessed with the concept of lag. As video and stills came out, everybody saw that a great player is storing what looks like is storing the club back and then dumping it down by the ball, and they've artificially tried to create that. In Swing Tips You Should Forget, my book, talked about that in chapter 2, create lag, and gave you the real info on what that is. Now, how can this information help you with the lag concept? Well, folks that were trying to create lag in their swing, they saw that the club of the golfer was moving closer to the body this way. So if the club was like this at the top of the swing, they noticed then it was moving closer to the golfer on a much narrower path. So what people then tried to do, and a lot of people taught this to them, was, I remember it was taught to me when I was a kid, and that's probably what inspired me more to get to this level, was they are trying to bring their hands into their body and create a real narrow downswing. You'll see a lot of students come and they'll try to bring this club closer to them to try to conserve lag. They're trying to hold the club back. In actuality, they're creating more problems because when they do that, they curve their hands. They create that sharp curve to their hands. So as we know from the world's strongest man drill, that curve actually makes the outward movement of the club more. So in your effort to try to get lag or narrow that downswing, you have actually done the opposite. You've curved your hands sharply, which sped up the outward movement of the club. So if we want to conserve the outward movement of the club in our, first little area of the downswing here to about halfway down, we know that it has to be a flattish move. So after the handle of the club reaches its highest point and I started transitioning down, the more flattish I take my hands, the more my hands move in a very flattish line down this way, almost like they're moving, like we said in the book, towards the wall or away from the ball. This flattish movement of the grip path is what actually conserves the outward movement of the club. So the first take home from the Explosive Golf Show, little raw footage here from Jacobs 3D, is I'm trying to identify how to optimize somebody's grip path to control the outward movement of the club. So one of the features as Jacobs 3D continues on when I do my research is there's 40 parameters currently, and one of the last parameters is this grip path, and then the grip path the golfer is currently doing, and then one that is an ideal version. An efficient grip path based on what the golfer can do. I then get a shape of the grip path that would be best for the golfer to maximize what they're trying to do. Then I'll start to re-engineer body movements, things like that, to try to help the golfer control the outward movement of the club. So, some basic information. Welcome to the Explosive Golf Show Season 7. Hope you enjoyed the first informational show on the grip path. Hope it opened your eyes to some information. And we're doing plenty of golf research here at X Golf School. You're welcome to join us.